Halloween.
Forever.
Yeah, you know what, Steve? This movie, a little triggering for me. I don't know if you, for those of you who are just tuning in, we watched Trucks. And we'll talk about this movie fucking blows. But we watched the movie Trucks, which was, it was just a little bit triggering for me. I don't know if you know this. I was in a car accident when I was a kid. When we were we were T-boned by a tractor trailer that was carrying a bunch of omega-3 capsules. You know, it was like a vitamin truck or something like that going to GNC. Yeah, luckily we only sustained superficial injuries.
Jesus Christ.
Superficial oil injuries.
I get it.
Welcome, boys and girls, to another fucking Minisode of Halloween is Forever. I'm Brian.
And I'm Steve. And that's how you can tell Brian writes a lot of his own jokes. Holy God.
Superficial oil injuries. Oh, man. That's a good one. That's a quality joke. I really stepped on my own joke by laughing, but it was so funny. It was so funny, you guys. We are here once again with another fucking mini-sode, you guys. This was a punishment episode, and I'll explain what that means here in a damn old sec. Hold your fucking jeans on. But boy, did it feel like a punishment. You probably saw it when you clicked on the old podcast episode in your Apple Podcasts or your Sportifies or whatever. We watched Trucks from 1998 or 1997 ? I don't know. I saw conflicting dates. It felt like a fucking punishment. Do you agree with that? It was just fucking lame.
This was a chore. And fuck you, Anthony.
Anthony, you piece of shit. Big old tone dog coming in here, just taking a dump in our cereal. So for those of you who are new to the podcast, welcome, and also go fuck yourself. Where you been for 2 years? Now that you're on board, here's how it goes. We do some really tasty, savory, sweet content on the intranets every Monday. The first Monday of the month, we do a showdown episode. It's a whole damn thing. I'll explain it in a second. And then we do minisodes the rest of the Mondays. Every damn week, you get some fresh, spicy content. But the episode after the showdown, whoever takes that sumbitchin' showdown home with them, whoever takes that sumbitchin' strap on their shoulder home and wins that showdown, gets to pick a punishment movie for the remaining folks to have to watch and you know, to satisfy, you know, what they deserve for their insolence. This is a unique scenario because we had a guest. It was Anthony from They Call That a Movie podcast, and Anthony won. Guys, first time ever a guest won the showdown, and he just stuck it right up our pooper with this son of a bitch. Steve picked Maximum Overdrive. This was a good scene in bad movie showdown. And as a troll, I guess, on Steve, Anthony picked Trucks from 1998, which is basically a shitty made-for-TV PG-13 Canadian version of Maximum Overdrive based on the same Stephen King short story, also called Trucks.
You know it's bad when Maximum Overdrive, we say it over and over again, like we do love Maximum Overdrive.
Yeah,
movie's great. It's off the rails. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also universally critically panned.
Right.
You know it's bad when the remake is worse.
Oh, 100 times worse. 100 times worse. And like, it was so critically panned, like you said. You know, Stephen King, very embarrassed of Maximum Overdrive, all that stuff. You know, was famously so coked out of his brain that he may or may not have even directed it for most of it. But it looks like a fucking masterpiece compared to this piece of horse shit. Anyway, we'll get into that fucking piece of shit movie here, but this is a unique scenario because this is the first time that you and I, since our switch, since Meg died, Just kidding. Meg's not dead. She's dead to us. I'm just kidding also about that. But she'll be back periodically. But since she stopped being on the podcast regularly and we started having guests on our Showdown episodes, this is the first time a guest won. So you and I have to sit here and wallow in our shame and our filth, simultaneously. So no one is here to rub it in. Although we did give Anthony the opportunity, but he just took a shit on our rug and just fled the country, I think.
Yeah, I blame you.
Me?
Yeah.
This movie is a direct response to your movie.
Right, but also Anthony picked my movie.
That's true, he did.
So it's your fault. It's your fault. It's your fault.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I did pick an M. Night Shyamalan movie. It was a risky play. But in any case,
you voted last. You were the deciding vote. So this is all your fault.
I did. You just picked a scene that was just an explosion.
Yeah, explosions are awesome.
Well, then you should love this fucking movie because it's got a few of them. All right, guys. Before we get any further down the fucking poop chute that is trucks, we got a couple of things we got to do at the top of the podcast. First of all, let's talk about beers. I saw you sipping on something. What you got over there? It looked a little gloopy, a little gloppy. What was it?
Yeah, it's riding that gloop glop line. It probably is a gloop glop. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah.
I didn't pick it up because it was a gloop glop. I thought it might be a little different, but it is the Cherry Fandango from Toppling Goliath.
Sounds like a glooper.
It is a cherry kettle sour beer. I like a good cherry beer. I like my niche shoof.
I do too.
I like my.
Yeah.
I like my obvious Wisconsin Belgian red from the Spotted Cow Company, whatever.
New Glarus.
But yeah, from New Glarus. I was hoping this was going to be along the lines of that, but it's much more along the lines of desserty sour. It has a nice cinnamon characteristic to it, but otherwise it is pretty
candyish. I don't mind Toppling Goliath. They don't make a lot of beers that necessarily are the type of beers that excite me, although I did pick up, we were talking before we started recording, I did go to beautiful Vintage States in lovely Boardman, Ohio. I actually had to stop over at the Walmart in Boardman right after that, and I got stopped by the greeter who explained to me how there's so many quote unquote migrants there and that she thinks more are coming. So that was a nice way to start the day, getting greeted by a weird racist Walmart greeter at the Walmart in Boardman. That's a depressing place. Even amongst Walmarts, that is a depressing Walmart. I went over to Vintage Estates and grabbed some brewskis, and I did grab a Toppling Goliath. Apparently they make an Oktoberfest, which I never had before. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, that's a real hey, welcome to Ohio, here's your racism.
Yeah. She was a very prim and proper kind of old lady. She enunciated very well. Actually, there's a little bit more to the story. She's the greeter. She said hi. Oh, hi, yeah. I'm good. How are you? Whatever. She goes, I've been better. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, the greeter's not supposed to say I've been better, because then that begs so I just went, oh, sorry to hear that. And then I'm standing there waiting to grab a cart, and there's a line of people kind of congesting the entrance. So I have to stand there for maybe 5 seconds. And she proceeds to tell me that this morning, a young migrant boy came in without any identification and tried to buy beer at 8 a.m. And I kind of chuckled, and her response was, "That's not funny." And then I said, "Well, I hope things go better. Bye." I just walked away. I was like, Jesus Christ, you are literally the worst greeter I've ever met. Your life is your job. I get it. She's an older lady. If I had to put an age on her, I'd probably say she was in her, late 70s, mid 70s, something like that. I'll tell you something. Greeting, not your bag, lady. What you did was the opposite of greeting. In any case, we're not going to.
Look here, Ethel. We need to switch you around. You're bumming everybody the fuck out.
Oh man, she sucked. She sucked hard. She was just, you could tell everyone just hated her. All the other employees were just keeping a distance from her. She sucked ass. But what doesn't suck ass, this beer I got here, this is my first of the year, Oktoberfest beer. This is one of the ones that is just a perennial favorite of mine, even though it's a different beer every year. They do a different collaboration every year, Sierra Nevada Oktoberfest. And they do a collaboration with a different German brewery most years. And this year it's Kerwilder Brewery, which I think is in Hamburg, somewhere up north. And holy shit, is it good. Like it varies pretty dramatically. Some years it's really pale and hoppier. Some reason, like last year, I think it was pretty like, rich and malty. And this one is just super balanced, very noticeable hop character, lot of like bready malt, but it's like really well attenuated. And fuck, I'm going to drink 100 of these this year. So yeah, that's where I'm at with beers. Is Oktoberfest season is upon us. My birthday's this weekend. That means I drink Oktoberfest pretty much for the next 2 months straight.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Break it up with a pumpkin beer here and there.
Yeah. I mean, I did grab a couple pumpkin beers. I grabbed one from Masthead in Cleveland. I did grab a couple punkies, but got to drink those O-Fests while they are fresh. All right. A couple more things here we got to do. First of all, it's time to spin that dang old spinny ass wheel again. While Steve brings up the old spinny ass wheel, I'll explain to you what the hell this means for those interlopers who are new to the show. Here's how it goes. I said we do one of them showdown episodes on the first Monday of every month. We get our topic for that showdown episode from our social media friends and listeners. Basically, we got a big old spinning wheel with a bunch of topics on it. Some of them we chose, some of them we got from our social media friends and listeners. If you want to suggest topics for the future, or if you want to suggest just movies in general, whatever, follow us on the social medias. Halloween is Forever on, TikTok and Instagram and barely TikTok, Instagram and Twitter and the Threads and all those various things. Or you can email us at halloweenisforeverpod@gmail.com. Once we get that big old list, that list just keeps building, keeps going. Sometimes we take things off that we did in the past, whatever, but we keep tabulating this big old list. We spin the wheel, we get 3 topics. Once we get 3 topics, we'll put them out on the social medias, and our social media friends and listeners vote on which of those 3 they want us to do. Once we have a topic, me, Steve, and our guest pick a movie or a scene or a TV episode or whatever the hell that particular topic pertains to. We each pick one. We talk about it on the showdown episode, and we fight, and we European uppercut each other. Maybe somebody gets a German suplex, something like that, and then somebody takes home the Some Bitchin' Championship strap for the month. So that being said, it's time to pick those 3 topics that yins are going to get to choose from on the social medias. So what's going to kick us off there, Steve?
The wheel. I
don't like that sound.
I mean, no. I mean, the category's fine. It's just like the wheel is obviously attuned to something, because this suggestion actually comes from They Called This a Movie, the podcast.
Yeah, it does feel like the wheel tends to favor new suggestions.
Yeah, it feels like it favors new ones, but also like. It picked the one that like They Called This a Movie sent to us, so now it's it's just rubbing it in more. I don't want to give Anthony more. He already heard us.
He heard us. He made us watch trucks. By the way, this is a digital wheel, yins guys. When we had who do we have on that was surprised that there actually was a wheel? Was it Ben? Bigfoot Ben, maybe? He was like, "Oh, I thought there was a wheel." We're like, "Where is a wheel?" And they was like, "Oh, there." But it's a digital wheel. It's one of them newfangled websites they got, wwws. So
yeah, pickerwheel.com. You've seen it. But the category is, the first one is 80s slasher one-hit wonders. So any slasher film from the 80s that didn't get transformed into like a franchise.
Yeah, there's a lot to choose from there. That's a really fun one.
Mm-hmm. So like, I mean, we already did The Burning in years past, but that's an example. It didn't become a franchise.
Yeah, I wanted to pick, or I was about to say one, but then I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to say it because I might actually pick it. But yeah, 80s slasher one-hit wonders. I like that topic. As much as I hate to admit it, because Anthony is not one of my favorite people right now on account of trucks. but that's a good topic.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what's next?
Mm-hmm. This one is pretty just general horror comedy.
Oh, okay. Horror comedy. That's kind of fun. Have we done that one before? No.
I feel like we might have did it in the first year, or something similar. But yeah.
All right, horror comedies. What's number 3?
And number 3, spinning the wheel here, going. This one is horror noir.
Okay. I don't know where is that, like, specifically like African American, like directed, produced, like, or is that like a other subject? Because I remember there was I don't know if that has something to do with the was there a documentary titled something similar to that was about like, you know, African Americans and horror and directed and actors and that sort of thing. Yeah.
So yeah, the movie from 2021, Horror Noir, is, you know, it's a history of black horror. So I think that's where we're going with that.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I like that. So to recap, we've got 80s slasher one-hit wonders, horror comedies, or horror noir. Those are 3 pretty radically different topics. Any one of them would be super fun. I'd be surprised if 80s slashers did not win, especially going into September and getting full-on dang old spooky season. But we shall see. So if you don't already, go onto the social medias. At Halloween is Forever, you know, just go into the search bar in your favorite social media, put in at Halloween is Forever. You'll probably find us, little, you know, pixel punking guy on there. Follow us, and specifically on Instagram and Twitter, you can vote on which of those 3 you want for our Showdown episode in September. So one more thing before we get into this movie. If you haven't already, go over and check us out on the Patreon as well. Patreon.com/Halloween is Forever. Last month, we kicked off our Patreon and we got this whole dang new thing. Steve, you want to tell them about this whole dang new thing? It's your fault and you need to own up to it. So tell them about it.
So yeah, we got a Patreon, and on the Patreon, you can sign up for 2 tiers. We have the Scamps tier and the Rascal tier. And Scamps, it'll get you a couple 2 treat things. It'll get you ad-free episodes. It'll get you, you know, a couple, like, I did some review write-ups that you can read for like movies that we don't do on the show, but we watched during the month. I did a couple of those. You get all that. But that's not where the bread and butter is. The bread and butter is the Rascal tier.
Well, yeah, that's where it gets done.
$5 a month. That gets you all the stuff I just mentioned, gets you on the Discord so you can hang out. You can see episodes happen live, you know, with all their fucking technical difficulties.
Sometimes. Yeah.
Sometimes.
Or you can watch where you can watch me eat crab chips, which is what I'm doing right now.
Yeah. You can watch Brian eat crab chips. You can watch me, you know, drink Gluk Glop beers, and you can hear it all happen live. But the other thing you get is the brand new monthly podcast, Family is Forever.
Oh boy.
Where we are watching every single movie in the Fast and the Furious franchise.
And you might ask yourself, why the Fast and the Furious franchise? This is a horror podcast. And to that I say, beats the fuck out of me. That's what I say.
Well, it's an existential horror for you because you have never seen any of these movies and you've been adamant about not watching them at all.
Yeah. And we did do the first one last month in July. We released our first episode of this Patreon exclusive podcast. The movie is terrible. It's the first movie. The titular Fast and the Furious sucked terribly. It was laughably sucky at points, which was funny. And the discussion of it, I will admit, was very fun. So check it out. We had a lot of fun. We laughed our balls off the whole the whole episode. I can only assume it's going to get more intense from here. So yeah, we're moving on in the beautiful month of August to Too Fast, Too Furious. Guys, in case you're wondering, it's spelled with the number 2. When you start throwing numbers into letter words, howdy. That is when shit starts to get real. Starts to get extreme.
You know, it's quality. It's quality.
Is there a Fast and the Furious movie that has an I'm not talking Fast and Furious X, the 10th one, which I think just came out, right? Was there one that has an X in it, as in like to suggest that it's extreme?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay, that's surprising. It's surprising for me.
Yeah, no, it's pretty on point with just sticking to weird conglomerations of the names Fast and Furious. You know, they've even gotten to the point where they've dropped the Furious part. Like you said, it's Fast X.
Yeah.
Number 9 is the Fast Saga.
Oh no shit. Okay, weird.
Yeah. However, number 8 is the Fate of the Furious. So
so stupid. I do know that there is pretty soon we will have gone Tokyo drifting. So I'm looking forward to that.
Tokyo drifting is September.
That's 3. Okay. All right. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that. I'm looking for the episode. I'm not looking for the movie. Okay. Guys, speaking of things I'm not looking forward to, is ever seeing this piece of shit movie again, guys. We, like I said, we're about to talk about Trucks from 1997 or 1998. One or the other. I don't fucking know. Anyway, like we said, this is based on the same Stephen King short story entitled Trucks that Maximum Overdrive is based on. But this was a straight to TV Canadian abomination from the late 90s. So, you know, well over a decade later, and it somehow feels older. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Is it just me?
It's my first note. I was like, this is 1998. But then I remembered it's Canada.
Yeah.
And Canada is technically 10 years behind us at all times. So
okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I didn't think about the cultural shift. It's like daylight savings time, but in Canada it's the whole decade. Yeah. But it's directed by a gentleman named Chris Thompson, who I never heard of and I don't know anything about. And then when I looked on IMDb, it makes sense. Number one, he has since passed away in 2015. However, I don't think heard of almost anything with the exception of the Hitchhiker TV series from 1987, which I'm familiar with, but I've never watched. He has 43 director credits. I don't think I've seen or even heard of really any of them, with the exception of Trucks. Almost all of them are TV movies. There's one, which I am intrigued to watch, from the year of our Lord 1993, called The Flood, Who Will Save Our Children? ? There's a lot of what seem to be I don't even want to say like a Hallmark Channel type of movies, but they do feel very melodrama. And this movie has a lot of melodrama in it, and even has the soundtrack of like the 80s and 90s made for TV melodrama movies. But like,
yes,
Woman on a Ledge, right? That sounds like something of that ilk. She Was Marked for Murder, those types of things.
Yeah,
that seems to be what she's done.
That's a Lifetime movie for sure.
Right. I literally don't know any. I mean, I'm going down through 40 something director credits. Not one of them rings a bell. That is very, very surprising. A lot of episodes of TV shows as well, but a lot of TV movies in there. And this feels just like I said, a late 80s, early 90s TV movie, despite the fact that it's from 1997. It does have some recognizable people, but before we get into the people, I do want to call out something that I was perturbed by, because if you look at the cover art, and I don't know if this was ever, it probably did go to VHS as well, but there is what appears to be a VHS cover on IMDb, as well as a write-up, and they're both they make Ghoulies look not misleading at all. It says, "You turn, you die." Good tagline.
Yeah.
There's a skeleton driving a truck. There's no skeletons in this dang movie. Not even one.
Not at all.
No.
Not at all.
Also, the brief but wildly inaccurate IMDb plot synopsis reads, aliens arrive, parking in a geostationary orbit over Nevada. Using powers unknown to us, they declare war and use unmanned trucks as weapons. Almost none of that happens. I mean, yes, there is a suggestion that this has something to do with aliens. Like, it's fairly vague. We don't know anything about them parking in a geostationary orbit. Like, they just say like something happened 2 weeks ago, maybe. There's no declaration of war. But the trucks may or may not be controlled by them in some capacity. We don't know. It could just as easily be a government controlled thing as it could be aliens, judging from just the plot. So that whole synopsis is bullshit.
It's going to be hard to not compare this to Maximum Overdrive.
Yeah.
But like, Maximum Overdrive is pretty vague about what's going on, although you can put one and two together when they mention the alien being shot down by the Russian satellite. And then you also have the like green glow in the sky, and then you also have at some point, one of the trucks does Morse code.
Yeah.
So like, you have a lot going on that you can put one and two together. All of that stuff is not in trucks.
No.
So like, you have none of that in trucks. You actually have more talk about a chemical spill than anything else.
Yeah. Which is, again, is confusing and misleading and is just, that's a terrible plot synopsis. That's really just a different movie. There's a couple of recognizable folks in here. The star is Timothy Busfield. Would not have been able to pull his name, but you're going to recognize his face from 80s and 90s. He's in a lot of things. Actually, surprised he has. I mean, 83 acting credits. That's a good amount, but not as many as I would have guessed. He'd be well over 100, just because I feel like he was in everything back then, and he's still acting to this day.
He's also a working director too.
Yeah, tons of directing credits. I was not aware of.
Yeah, he basically just directs like one episode of every like cop fash propaganda show that your parents love to watch.
Yeah. He's has been in a ton of TV. He's probably most well known for The West Wing, and Field of Dreams and Revenge of the Nerds. He played Poindexter in Revenge of the Nerds. That's the thing I immediately recognize him from his very early years, and then Field of Dreams, and then a little bit later on, late 90s, early 2000s with The West Wing. I did not look what his directing credits are. I'm wondering if there's anything there that I give a shit about or know anything about.
Like an episode of Psych, an episode of Children's Hospital.
Yeah.
Bunch of Law and Orders.
The Connors.
Yeah. Like, he just does like one episode of like just a random fucking show. And just, I guess it keeps him in the DGA or something. I don't know.
It literally is. You're not wrong. It is one episode of White Collar, one episode of Lie to Me, one episode of a bunch of stuff that got canceled very quickly. Like, it's just 9 episodes of Ed. That was an okay show.
Oh, okay.
We got a lot of Ed fans out there. So, yeah. Anyway, so you'll recognize him. You've got Brenda, I think, Back, or it might be Backy. Again, recognized her name, or her face rather, but not her name. She's in LA Confidential. She was in Under Siege 2, and what I remember her from, well, I didn't remember she was in Tales of the Crypt Demon Knight, but Hot Shots Part 2. I was obsessed with that movie as a kid. I watched it 10,000 times, and every time he dipped his hands in the like caramel and then the gummies and the chocolate chips,
and then the gummy bears in the glass.
It was like, I honestly thought I pissed myself laughing whenever they kick the guy's head in 2 directions and it kind of like goes sideways, all rubbery. I pissed myself as a 12-year-old. And then the other person I recognized and I couldn't place is Brendan Fletcher, who plays Logan, which is Ray's son. And we just well, he's from the thing that I remembered him from is The Revenant, but he's apparently in Last of Us, a episode. I haven't watched that. And then Violent Night, which just came out last year, which I had not watched, but he's got 130 acting credits.
So I wanted to bring this one up to you because you may not be aware of it, but I think he might be our most featured actor on this show.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm looking down through what he's been on so far.
So he's been in every Uwe Boll movie, more or less.
That's no good.
And that includes Blood Rain 2, the one from the Old West that I did on an episode, Showdown.
Yeah, that one also had Scott Farkas in it, if I recall.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
And then he was also in Freddy vs. Jason.
Okay.
Which also has Scott Farkas.
Yeah.
But also has Brendan Fletcher in it. So I think he's beating Scott Farkas by one with this Trucks movie now.
Okay. He was in an episode of R.L. Stein's The Haunting Hour. Wow, he is in so many things. And a lot of not a lot of A tier stuff. It's B, C, D tier stuff, I think here. But he was in
There's a lot of F tier when you're in Uwe Boll movies.
Well, yes.
He's in almost all of them. And I
Blood
was just
Rain 2 Deliverance. Oh boy. Masters of Horror. He's in one episode of Masters of Horror.
He's the star of a series of films from Uwe Boll that they're not really horror, so we'll probably never really talk about them on this show, but it's a series of films called Rampage, which is just mass shooter fucking porn.
Okay, that's what I was saying. I just saw them. I don't know anything about them, but I thought that they were based on the video game series Rampage.
Absolutely not.
Oh boy!
And I think that was like a trick on Uwe Boll's part because everybody knows him from doing video game adaptations.
Yeah.
And then he released this Rampage movie, but it's actually just like a fucking a mass shooter porn type movie. And then the first one is just god awful. The second one is about the shooter goes to the Capitol, and I think the third one is about the shooter shooting up a bank. And every time he's too smart and gets away. It's just ugh. It is reprehensible media.
That sounds rough. He's also in one episode of The Wonderful World of Disney. So just as a palate cleanser there. And guys, now we're getting back into the 90s. This is serious stuff. I'm not even going to talk about the movie. I just want to talk about this guy's IMDb profile. He was in the 1997 classic Air Bud.
Hell yeah.
And then he also was in 2 episodes of Goosebumps, the TV series. He was in a movie, a TV movie from 1995 called Little Criminals. I wish it was Lil, L-I-L apostrophe, but it's not.
Lil.
Anyway, that's enough about this cast. It's not a great cast, but those are the 3 people that you'll probably recognize. But yeah, I don't think you're going to really recognize anybody else.
I did look up one other person just because they're so fucking terrible in this movie. I was like, where does this person come from? And then I was shocked to find out that they're a consistently working actor.
Okay.
Is the guy who plays Jack in this film, who is basically just, some hippie on a retreat, played by Jay Brazeau. And he has an enormous amount of credits, and it seems like half of them are all Christmas movies. And sometimes he plays Santa Claus.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I could see that. So are these Hallmark Christmas movies?
They're all over the place.
Really?
They're all over the place. I think he's one of them. He was in the Bill Hader recent Christmas movie.
Huh.
And then some of them are Hallmark Christmas movies. One of them was a Sonic the Hedgehog Christmas special he played Santa Claus in.
Sonic the Hedgehog Christmas special. Yes, I would like to watch that, please. If it does, yeah. Santa Claus is just sucking on chili dogs.
Hell yeah. Santa is canonically in the Sonic universe, I guess.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, Robotnik, I mean, he's kind of a weird cyberpunk Santa Claus, if you think about it.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into this fucking movie. Yeah, there's not a ton to discuss because not a lot happens, to be honest with you. The title font makes you realize you're in for it right from the beginning. Like, it's just something about that title font is like, shit's about to be terrible.
It's the Ralph Wiggum meme of I'm in danger.
Yeah, it really is. It's like it's this like freaking wingdings looking fucking shitty font. You start out in this junkyard and just like really from the very beginning, trucks are up to no good. I mean, that's kind of the summary of this movie. There's a truck creeping around in a junkyard. Nothing happens really, but that's just how you get introduced to trucks are doing stuff on their own right away. So you get introduced to some of the main characters here. You have Hope, and she like runs this kind of expedition, hiking, camping, day trip type of company. I don't know. Ray, he works at the gas station / like diner, filling station, truck stop, whatever you want to call it. You got Logan, who's his son. So you get introduced to them right off the bat. You get introduced to some of the other less consequential characters in the diner and patrons and that sort of thing. You know, you got the cook, you got a couple of, ornery rednecks, that sort of thing. And Hope's headed into town to get supplies, and this old truck's like stalking her, I guess. I don't know. And then she gets unfortunately introduced when she stops to this trucker who's racist and rapey, which is, I think I'm going to say 45% of truck drivers are probably fall into that category. But she basically tells him to get fucked. Ultimately, his truck is going to become like the king of trucks, I guess. I don't know.
It's the bad guy villain truck because it's driven by a bad guy. Yeah,
but there's no other distinguishing characteristics besides it's a refrigerator truck. Like there's no goblin on the front, like which I get that. I don't believe that's in the story. In the Stephen King short story, if I certainly don't remember that, but in any case, there's nothing particularly different about this truck.
I haven't read the short story, to be frank, but like even if you're like trying to do something that isn't just full on putting a goblin face on the front, you could do something like he has like a devil painted on the side.
Yeah.
Or it's like a hood ornament or something hanging from the mirror, something that just like is sinister that makes you go, oh, here comes that devil truck.
Or a license plate, anything, But yeah. I haven't read it since probably I was in high school or college, but I don't remember that. I do kind of vaguely remember it being a toy truck, but I don't remember the goblin in the story, but I've read the story once and seen the movie 100 times, so who knows. But you get introduced to Abby and her dad, and Jack. So Abby is a super angsty mid 90s alternative teen. Her dad, who's like a real fucking square Air Force guy, like buttoned up, whatever. And then Jack, who you talked about, is this kind of like aging hippie, space cadet guy who's into aliens and shit. You talk about, you learn pretty on Abby's the angsty 90s child of divorce. So that comes up a lot.
It's not divorce. Their mom's killed.
No, not Abby.
Oh, no, not Abby. Not Abby. Logan.
Yeah, Logan's mom's dead, because at some point later you get this really awkward moment where they say something about like, aren't parents the pits or whatever? And then Logan goes, I only got one now. And then Abby goes, I got two, which is a shitty thing to say. But then she follows it up with, but I only get one at a time, because she's divorced. And she's basically pretending that her parents being divorced is just as bad as his mom being dead. But anyway, so the racist, rapey truck driver, his truck starts to like rebel while he's driving it. And instead of just like wrecking and ejecting him, it lures him into the back of his own freezer truck, because that's cheaper than a car accident, a car wreck in a movie. You learn that Ray's wife and Logan's mom died 2 years ago, and Ray's super overprotective of Logan. They talk about, I don't know when it was, 20 years ago or something like that, a UFO, was supposedly seen over a military base near outside of town. So there's like some vague local lore around UFOs and aliens and shit.
Yeah. I was so confused about where the fuck this movie was supposed to be taking place. Because I don't know, maybe it was on a sign I didn't look at or something, but like they spend so much time talking about where they're not. Yeah. Like they make fun of make fun of New Mexico and how people, can't give up the turquoise jewelry, which is, that's nice that that's still true in 2023.
Sure.
But like they talk about like Abby and her dad are from Las Vegas, and then they're talking about Area 51, but Area 51 is like right outside of Las Vegas. It's supposed to be right around Groom Lake.
Okay.
And so I was so confused. And also it doesn't look like Nevada. It doesn't look like Nevada at all. So
I think they're supposed to be in Nevada, but yeah. I don't know that it looks like Nevada. I'm not super familiar with Nevada, but they talk about them for being from Las Vegas. They say something about like over in New Mexico or something. And then they mention that they're not in Arizona. So that led me to believe that they are in Nevada. I think that's what IMDb says. It's in Nevada. But again, yeah, it's an orbit over Nevada. But the IMDb we've suggested has nothing to do with the movie. But vague UFO things happened in or around the town or didn't. We don't fucking know. So the truck driver's truck, who he's now locked in the back, starts driving, with him in the back. The whole gang, who are on the way to the backpacking trip, which is, Hope, Abby, her dad, and Jack. I don't even remember what her dad's name is. But they are in the they see the truck on the side of the road, the rapey guy's 18-wheeler truck. And then they see another truck, which was the creepy truck that was following like Jack earlier, or not Jack, but Hope earlier. It's just parked in the middle of the road. And instead of just going around it, they have to stop and go like, we got to inspect this. What's going on here? This is weird. We got to push this off the road. And then the 18-wheeler comes and just smashes into them. And then the hippie guy, Jack, just goes, this is weird. Like someone just tried to run them down and kill them. And his reaction was, that was weird.
If I retitled this movie, it would be called The Slow and the Nonplussed, because there is so many non-reactions that are also just like confused at times. Yeah. And like this is one of the first ones that really stuck out as like terrible, because Jack almost gets plowed by an 18-wheeler that continues to like run circles around them.
Yeah, and then turns around and smashes Hope's van right after that. Right. The van they were just in. Yeah,
and he's just like, well, that was weird. It's like, you mean weird? You almost died, you idiot.
Well, and Hope, she is the absolute queen of just no cells, like no cells at all. Yeah. Over and over and over again. But then you have the beautiful part is, in contrast, you have Abby, who's acting her fucking ass off and just like going for broke and upstaging everyone, which is not hard, but it's so fucking dumb. So yeah, meanwhile, you get this thing of like Logan is fixing up a motorcycle, but dad's being a dingus, says he can't ride it because he's overprotective because his mom died and he doesn't want him to die. You later learn that his mom got shot by a random gang drive-by in Detroit, which is the most 90s way to die. Like a thing that really, not to say there isn't gang activity in Detroit, but to say like, oh, my mom got, it was a rant. Like that's the thing that your mom says is going to happen to you, but obviously doesn't. Actually, they're saying in the script happened to their mom. Like random drive-by gang related drive-by.
I don't know if you noticed this, and just it's a thing that stuck with me. Like in general, the sound design in this movie is terrible. Oh yeah. But anytime you got a scene that was in this little garage between like Logan and his dad and about the bike and everything, there's pigeons in the background.
I was not paying that close attention.
it just stuck out to me, like, because it stuck out like a sore thumb. I'm like, why am I hearing pigeons when there's nothing to do with birds right now? Like, when he first unveils the bike,
yeah,
I thought he was about to unveil like a pigeon cage of like birds that he's been like taking care of.
Like he was Mike Tyson. He's taking care of messenger pigeons or something.
Yeah, exactly. And like that was going to be integral to the plot of like, oh, we don't have any phones. I'm gonna send my birds out.
Yeah. But what if the funny thing was he pulled it up and it was a motorcycle made of pigeons. That would be fucking sick.
That would have been sick as hell. I'd be like, oh, this movie's crazy.
Yeah. No, nothing that fun ever happens. Maybe the most bonkers characters show up though, which, they're named the Jaegers, which is how Mr. and Mrs. Jaeger. They show up for some nature shit, I guess. And they're just like fighting and they hate each other. They're like cartoon characters almost. I can just describe them, I guess, what I wrote down in my notes is that they are very mean and very horny. They like are really being super terrible to each other, but then they just want to fuck really bad, I guess. Like it just doesn't follow how they were acting towards each other. But there's a very odd scene of them just assaulting each other in the hotel room, ripping each other's clothes off, and they just keep saying lunar over and over again like it's a funny joke. You just keep going like, but it's like Beavis and Butthead, like tearing each other's clothes off. They're like lunar, lunar.
Like she keeps saying lunar and he keeps saying Provence.
Yeah,
because they're like, it's just like, what is this? Like this couple is like the cartoonish worse version of the Yeardley Smith character and her boyfriend, husband, from Maximum Overdrive. And it's just like the worst version because you don't care about these characters and you hope they die.
Yeah. They're like if those characters from Maximum Overdrive, calling back to another recent episode, was crossed with the big heads from Rocko's Modern Life. that's who these people are. So, back on the road, Hope pulls out her fucking 40 pounds cell phone that has like a car bra on it, to call Ray and said, hey, head out here. We need help. This truck's crashing all over the place. There's just so many shots of just like steering wheels moving with no hands. And it's it's so boring. It's just like, we get it. The trucks are driving by themselves. But it's just, they just keep hammering home. There is one good scene in this whole movie, which we'll get to here in a second. It's the only movie, like I would watch the scene 10 times in a row rather than watching this movie ever again. We'll get to it in a second. Just as a little teaser.
Yeah. The editing on this is so like frustrating and disrespectful to the audience because like you're saying, like there's so many shots of just, steering wheels being turned by nobody. And every one of those shots lasts 5 more seconds than it should. Yeah. But that's the entire movie. Every shot just lingers because the editor didn't want to work too hard, or they were trying to meet some sort of weird Canadian TV standard of we've got too much film to fit in the 2-hour block, so let's extend it to the 3-hour block.
Yeah, because it's not a short movie. It's 2 hours and 40-minute runtime. And normally, you're trying to hit that like 120 mark or 127 mark or something. And in this movie, I think you're right. I think it was like, if you guys could stretch 10 more minutes out of this motherfucker, we can fill up 3 hours, Yeah. But so like Ray gets like an evil truck, tries to run Ray off the road. And there's an army guy, right? He's an army guy because he's got fatigues on and he's chomping on a big cigar, kind of like he looks like an extra, like a character you don't remember the name of from Day of the Dead. Like he's like got the fucking hat and the sunglasses and all the shit. And a big chomping on a big cigar. So he's an army guy driving an army truck, hauling a big load of army poison in like a tanker truck. And it crashes into a big ass, like, I don't know, electrical thing. and explodes and bursts into flames. But then when they do like the zoom out explosion, the truck obviously wasn't involved in the explosion, like to do the effect. It was super lazy and stupid, but yeah, I don't know. It's just some sort of electrical doohickey, like a, what do they call them? Like a
it's just like a substation.
Yeah. And it just explodes all over the place. And then that turns into a giant poisonous chemical cloud. Oh, I wrote literally the most scary thing about this movie is when, like, the most disturbing part is when I saw Logan making a BLT with no mayonnaise. I was like, you motherfucker, you piece of shit.
There's a lot of like anti-American sentiment in this movie.
Yeah, it's not very 90s.
Yeah. I don't know if the BLT is part of it, but like definitely we're going to portray Americans as racist. We're going to portray them as dumb. We're going to portray them as like, you know, full of conspiracy theories. Mm-hmm. Like they picked up every like bad American, you know, habit and injected it. And then also like New Mexico's full of turquoise jewelry and hippies are in the crystals.
Well, it's weird because it's like it's all about it's like very anti-redneck, your like rural environment. Like all the people that are there that are like the good guys, quote unquote, are like from the city. Normally it's the opposite. You know, there's like the hometown boy, and yeah, there's some rednecks and whatever, but like the hometown kid, you know, he sets things right, you know, even though he's from a small town and people look down on him for being from a small town. All the people who are like the heroes in this movie are transplants to the middle of nowhere kind of thing, with the exception of Hope, I guess, but she moved away and came back. And even like the cook is like talks about how he's from Chicago or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, Ray shows up to rescue Hope and the whole crew. And then they find Phil, who apparently was the guy who, you know, owned the junkyard, and he is naked and also dead. And they're just like, oh no, Phil. And we're like, we don't give a fuck about Phil. Like, we didn't even know his name. We barely saw him. He has the realest Wolverine claw scratch across his stomach. Oh yeah, like what did that to him? It was not a fucking truck, that's for sure. Trucks don't have fingernails or claws. Yeah. Everyone in this movie, like we talked about, who, you know, acts at like a 2 or a 3 in terms of intensity most of the time, and Abby is always at a 10. And the best example of this is like 2 scenes that are really close to each other. After all that happens, and they're like getting in Ray's, you know, car to go back, which, let's be clear, which we can talk about more, but this is at some point, like, they're pretty clear this is only trucks, not cars. Which I think is very funny, but we'll talk about that more in a second. But they were like, are you okay? And Hope turns to Ray and goes, I'm scared to death. It's like that level of intensity.
I mean, you couldn't do it better justice. It's literally that delivery. There was nothing to it. It was the most nothing. It's like, are you even like showing up to work today? Are you like...
She's just like on lewds, just like she's just floating onto set, just mumbling her lines. And then like 5 seconds later, they have Abby and they're talking about, you know, we're going to do whatever. And Abby like shrieks her lines just so over the top. And like, I mean, the inconsistency of tone is all over the place. But I mean, Abby's character makes more sense that somebody would be like hysterical during this. Everyone else is just like not that bummed about what's happening. Meanwhile, the trucks start to, you know, circle the diner / filling station, which seems, you know, pretty familiar. I mean, it's based on the same story, so whatever. And they establish that no one is driving them. So now they're all like, okay, these are fucking phantom trucks or whatever. You get this special news bulletin about this toxic cloud that's doing something. So everyone has to lock down. And there's this weird line from like the local cop, which we'll talk about later what this might mean. But the cop goes, you know, just hang on, folks. I repeat, just hang on. And you're like, well, that was a weird line delivery. I mean, it does come back. There's a reason why they focused on it in that way, but I don't know that I fully understand what they were going for. We'll talk about it because it wraps around at the end. Just a bunch more boring and dumb things happen, and only like somewhat threatening things happen until the fucking creme de la creme of the movie here. This is the best scene. There is a mailman, and he's delivering mail to, I believe, a toy store, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why would there be a toy store out here? Who knows? This affects trucks only, right? But not just real trucks, but toy trucks. So the aliens can differentiate between trucks and cars and like the human classifications of these vehicles. So much so that Ray's station wagon unaffected.
Right.
But toy truck at the toy store, very much affected. And the toy truck at the toy store, I believe, this is a little bit of fanfic I'm working on, is actually the leader of all the trucks because it is the most murderous and bloodthirsty by far.
It is wildly aggressive.
Yeah. So this truck builds a little ramp, pushes a little like trailer thing so it can get a full head of steam, jump over like the wooden part of the door and smash through the glass part of the door. Then approaches the mailman, rams him in the shins until he falls down backwards, tripping over the mailbox, which if you're a mailman and you essentially get killed by a mailbox, that's the level of irony is unsettling. Flips him backwards. So he's laying on the ground. And then what I can only describe as a toy curb stomps the fucking mailman. Like smashes his head into the curb multiple times in a scene that is 10 times bloodier than anything else that happens in this entire movie.
Yeah. I'm wondering if this actually aired on TV.
Yeah.
Because like the truck winds up covered in gore after exerting its Tonka power.
Yeah, and it's like when he's slamming it, the effect is terrible. There's like a little hose that somebody's like stepping on a bladder, and it's shooting a stream of blood that seems to be coming from his neck or chest, which is not where he's being struck. Right. And then eventually it just, you don't see it, but it apparently, I mean, you see the blood all over his face and stuff, but the fact that there is just face chunks all over the front of this toy truck would suggest that it crushes his skull. Like it mashes his head like a 2-pound plastic toy truck.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that it even got him down, upon retrospect, this is the best scene in the film. Yeah. But at the time I was very, very mad because I'm like, you're going to just turn it over with like your foot.
It's like a turtle on its back. Just flip it over. It's done.
Yeah. Just do whatever you want with it. It's a little, you pick it up, throw
it in the mailbox. Just pick it up and put it in the mailbox.
Do whatever you want with it. But then the fact that he gets
leg sweeped by it and then curb stomped by a toy truck.
I mean, after it's all like it hits him multiple times in the shins. Like, figure it out, bud.
Well, he thinks it's a kid playing because it's like an RC type vehicle, I guess. So he thinks that it's a kid playing a trick on him. But anyway, luckily Jack, who's like the space cadet guy, he kind of understands truck mentality. You know, he thinks it's a comet, which also sounds familiar. Which, you know, it may or may not have been a comet. I don't know. But the rednecks start to think that Abby's dad is pretty sus, and because he was in the Air Force, and they start blaming him and blah, blah, blah. We also get this special news report that the space, it's, you know, the chemicals are space chemicals, BC 972. It's some sort of space ass chemical. I don't know. Doesn't make any sense. Absolutely has no real effect on the plot. I don't know why the whole chemical thing had to even be part of the script. I guess to shut things down and kill the power and make it feel like they were more isolated, but that could have happened a lot of other ways besides this space chemical spill.
Right. Plus, I mean, the fact is, like, we already know that the trucks were acting up before that spill happened.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's not, if the movie started with this weird chemical being spilled, then it could cast that shadow of a doubt of like, is it the chemicals in the air? Is it aliens? Is it da-da-da-da? But like, we've already seen order of operation, you know, that the trucks went crazy first.
Right.
So it doesn't matter.
I was at a point. I was hoping that Anthony was pulling some real like fucking 3D chess shit, and it was actually like the trucks were part of nature, and nature was telling the people that they're fucking up the earth, and now they're killing them, and the happening was the trucks. And then I was like, Jesus, this is the perfect movie to pick, because it's like part the happening, part Maximum Overdrive. But no, alas, it was not that convenient. But
would have been brilliant.
Yeah, this was my second favorite scene here. So up to this point, trucks, you know, are the only thing that are controlled here. But it also, well, let me explain what happens. The hazmat guys show up, right, to clean up the space chemicals. And yeah. Yeah, they show up. What is it? I don't remember what the acronym was, but
it was like I never got a good look at what the I was, but it was like Toxic Investigation Team or Toxic it was something like I don't know, but it was Toxic I Team. Yeah. So yeah, it's TIT, and it says it on their clean suits that we're part of the TIT.
Yeah. So they show up. They come out, they put on their gear. Then their truck, which may have been a van, I don't know, it decides that it's going to inflate one of the suits, okay? One of the hazmat suits that is unoccupied by a person. They're going to inflate it with some sort of, I'm assuming air, but it could have been some other gas, whatever.
Sure.
And then that suit is now alive. It couldn't have been alive by itself, and they couldn't have just... let me explain what it does. The uninhabited suit that has just been inflated, which now obviously has an actor in it that just looks like a guy in a suit, like, right, picks up an axe and axe murders the two hazmat guys. Couple of questions here.
Yeah, sure.
One, why did it have to inflate it?
Yeah.
Why did it have to look? Why did you have to make it look like a person? I know, because they needed to put a person in the suit. But
right.
In the world of the movie where actors aren't portraying this, why did that make fucking sense? Second of all, if the truck can do stuff like that, which has not been established up to this point, why couldn't the truck just have that guy, you know, the suit, fill up the gas of all the trucks later?
Yeah.
Or do any other host of things that the trucks were potentially incapable of doing, because the trucks seem to have some sort of hive mind or something. They speak, they communicate with each other through honks and beeps and potentially fucking CB radios, right?
Yeah.
Certainly CB radios, because later we see that. It just does. And also, if it can make a suit be animated, why can't it just make the axe be animated on its own?
This is where I said, get the fuck out of here, and just tapped out. We haven't talked about these crazy rules yet, and it's because of this scene. But like, the film starts off in that junkyard, and the first thing you see is a light that's hanging outside of the truck. It's a headlight, and it's hanging by wires,
right?
And it draws itself back into the truck and turns on.
Yes.
And then, like, that refrigerator truck, the doors lock itself, despite
even
having
though it's not a mechanical. Yeah.
Yeah.
it's just a latch.
It's not electrically powered. It's just a latch. Yeah. All the mirrors on the trucks move, except they're not electrically powered either.
And also, why does a truck need its own mirrors?
Yeah. Why would it need to look back like that? What is looking into the mirror to look back?
Yeah, and we established at some point that like the truck's like headlights maybe its eyes.
Yeah.
Because they shoot out the headlights and it crashes. So if it's seeing out of its headlights, which I like, because when I look at a car, I see a face and I think those the headlights are its eyes. So I like that. But if the eyes are its headlights, then it's not looking in the mirrors.
No.
So why is it adjusting its mirrors?
I don't know. And that's the thing that makes this movie 100 times worse than Maximum Overdrive. At least Maximum Overdrive kind of sort of makes sense with the exception of that army truck.
Yeah.
You know, the army truck we established, it like if it had agency over the gun, Emilio Estevez shouldn't have been able to spin it like a top.
Right.
That's kind of the only one that really sticks out of place. Everything else makes sense because they operate on the rules of what they can do. The soda machine can only shoot sodas. It can't walk around.
But it shouldn't be able to shoot sodas, Steve. There's no air power. There's no projection.
I don't know that for that machine. That machine looked crazy.
Steve, it looked like a regular soda machine. If you look at a soda machine, it just knocks it out and it's gravity and it falls down and you grab it. It has no way to project it outwards. Don't defend that scene. This is 100 times stupider than that, though. At least that's like played for laughs. Like that's a funny joke. I guess this kind of is, but not really. It's played pretty dead serious. Anyway,
it's wild how they have a reference to the carving knife that's in Maximum Overdrive, and then they don't use it the same way.
Yeah.
Like, it's just there. Like, it doesn't cut anybody's arm off. It's like, what the fuck? I hate this movie.
Yeah. It doesn't do anything good, and it only does everything bad.
It does one thing good, but even the one thing it does good, I don't like. Like, they should have gone further. And that's the very end, and we'll talk about that. But
yeah. Yeah, so this is where you start to get Abby's dad talking about how he thinks that it might be aliens because he's been in the Air Force or something. Again, it has really no ramifications later. By the way, by this point, the group had gotten separated into two buildings. Whatever. It doesn't matter that much. Mr. Yeager gets truck fucked. what I wrote down. And then Mrs. Yeager calls the truck a murderer and hits it with an axe, and Abby shrieks. That was a pretty good scene.
Yeah.
The trucks are, circling around. They start to talk to each other. Abby punches Logan with the worst executed fake punch of all time. But that was a worthwhile scene. Hope and Ray start to get into their backstories. Hope's talking about how she was in an abusive marriage. Ray talks about how his wife got drive-by shooted. Abby and Logan eventually get into this drainage pipe, which is like part of the plan for them to escape. But that trucks like act super fast on that. Like within 10 seconds of them getting in the tank or getting in the pipe, a truck runs over and dumps a bunch of like rocks and dirt on it. It's ready. It knew that was going to happen.
I don't understand how they keep getting surprised by the trucks so many times, because again, Maximum Overdrive, there's a huge convoy that completely encircles the building.
Right.
There is 4 trucks here.
Maybe.
You know, and like all you have to do is wait for them to go behind the building, and then you got enough time to run.
You got at least like 12 seconds to run. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, how do you keep getting surprised by these trucks and what they're doing? And
later, spoiler alert, Mrs. Yeager gets snuck up on and stealth killed by a truck.
She gets caught by just like not even paying attention.
Yeah, she gets rainbow sixed by a full-on truck. That doesn't make any sense. Ray has a gun now. Apparently, he doesn't like guns, but he got one from the cook or something.
Yeah, the cook fired the gun in what sounds like the softest gunshot ever recorded as sound design.
Mhm.
Like he just fires it in the building and it just goes, "Ah, hey guys, pay attention to me."
It reminded me because then the one redneck's like, you couldn't hurt anything with that. It's just a 22, like a 22 caliber.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of one of my favorite quotes from anything, which was C-Lab 2021. Where C-Lab 2020, whichever it was, and the the one guy, a woman asks, "Did you give a baby a gun and wrap it in asbestos?" And then the guy goes, I forget, he's like the main guy with the white hair, goes, "You couldn't even hurt a fly with that thing. It's just a 22." He gives a baby a gun, but his reaction is it's only a 22.
Yeah. Good old Captain Murphy.
Captain Murphy, that's right. So the trucks all like keep doing this like weird salute where they all stand still and like they have some sort of respect for Ray. Apparently, I don't know. Like they're about to mush his head, right? They're about to smash him from both ends when he's trying to save the kids in the pipe, and they just completely stop and let them run away, but just for a sec. Till the kids get away, and then they're like, "Just kidding, we're crazy trucks." The rednecks keep forgetting that the trucks are alive and just like going into momentary psychosis where they're like, "I'm gonna take my truck. It's my truck." Like they keep doing this thing where it's like,
yeah,
guys, the trucks have been wiling out for 2 hours, 4 hours, and all of a sudden you're like, "Wait, that's my truck," and then they run out and try to get the truck. Both of them do it.
I know, they're both just shocked. Like in this scene, while Ray is being held hostage by the two trucks and the kids are in the pipe, and he's like, he gets the kids out of the pipe. One of the rednecks is standing outside, and he's like standing coyly behind one of the trucks. And this is where we were talking about, why does the truck need the mirror? Because the truck uses its mirror to spot the trucker behind him. And he's standing there coyly like, "I ain't up to nothing. Don't worry about me. We'll see who's going to get into whose cab."
And I don't know what they thought was going to happen. But
they chase him off and they run him into another building. Like,
he just runs to another building where he finds some beers. Starts slugging some beers. There's a really funny little fight scene where they start to get like ornery, and the one redneck's like, "I'm gonna take what's rightfully mine," and they're like, "No, you can't go out there." And then Abby's daddy like pushes him or something, and Abby's dad comes in and slugs him, and then the other guy grabs Abby's dad and bashes his head off the pinball machine.
Yeah.
And then Jack hits him with the softest like bottle strike in the head. And of course it's like a breakaway, fake glass bottle. Yeah. And it just, he barely taps him and it just explodes. And then it's one of the quickest and stupidest fight scenes of all time.
It's the quickest, stupidest fight scene. And then bafflingly, Jack knocks this guy to the ground, and then Jack turns to the camera and says, "Peace, brother." But who is he saying it to? He's not saying it to any, it's a line you should be delivering to the guy you just knocked out, but he's turned completely away from that guy to look at the camera.
Yeah, he like mugs to the camera for it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, what the fuck is this?
I don't know. So the whole time you're like, well, why do they want to get out of that pipe so badly? It feels like actually kind of safe that they're in there. And to cover up that plot hole, they just make like a weird dubbed over line where they just go, "If you don't get out of that pipe, then the rats will eat you." I don't know. It's so stupid. Such a throwaway line just to explain that plot hole. And I just thought, why did you take exception to that plot hole? Like, why are you so worried about that to put it this little like voice over, voice over to tie up that loose end?
There's so much ADR in this film anyway. It doesn't matter who says what when. Who gives a fuck?
This is the scene that is maybe the stupidest and worst scene. It's funny a little bit, but Mrs. Yeager, she's distraught. Her husband died. They got murdered by a truck. they give her some like sedative of some sort.
Yeah.
And then like 20 minutes later, she just is walking up on this ridge, which where did that ridge come from? And then she's just walking up there, just like gingerly walking, not running, not like looking distraught, just walking. And they all are like, where you going? Hey, hey. And they're trying to yell to her. For some reason, she can't hear them. And this is when a truck solid snakes her, comes up behind her and snaps her neck because the truck walks up. The truck like tiptoes up behind her. They're all yelling because they can see the giant truck. She can't see it or hear them.
Or the truck, apparently.
Yeah. And then, can't hear the truck. And then it just cut away and it's an off-scene death. And apparently the truck had run her down. But I like to think that the truck snuck up behind her and did that like B button smash. And, the solid snake snapped her neck. It's the laziest, dumbest kill I've ever seen. It would have made more sense to just never see her again. And then it's unexplained and she just perished in the later explosion. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make any sense.
I mean, even better is if like, so she's all sedated and she's out of her mind, distraught because her, boyfriend is dead. And you have a scene that comes pretty shortly after this, I think, where after the sun's gone down, they're all trapped inside. And then Abby, for no fucking reason at all, makes a break for it and runs for the phone booth that's ringing. There's somebody's making a call.
Yeah.
So for whatever reason, Abby decides, I better go get that because we don't not answer phones in Canada. That's rude.
Yeah, that is rude. I really wanted her to pick it up and it was Freddie on the other end.
Yeah.
He's like,
I wanted something on the other end, but if you change that out for Mrs. Yeager and then just have both her and Jack get squashed in the phone booth, that's fine. It makes more sense.
Would have made 100 times more sense than her getting, stealth killed by a truck.
Yeah. And also makes more sense that Abby doesn't run out. She's the one who's the most terrified of all of this, but for some reason runs out on her own.
Teen girl loves to talk on the phone.
Oh, that's what it was. That's what it was. It was the call of the phone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was Mall Madness.
She had to find out if she was about to go on her dream date.
Yeah, picking it up and it was like, it's not Bobby.
Fuck.
That's guys. I've played Dream Phone a lot. We've played a lot of Dream Phone in high school. My friend had a Dream Phone, a game of Dream Phone and Mall Madness that were his older sisters from when she was little. And we would get fucked up and play Dream Phone and Mall Madness. It was fucking hilarious. It was so much fun. And it'd be like, it's not Steven. And we'd be like, fuck. It was so good. He's not at the shoe store. Anyway, the cook makes everyone a nice hot cup of soup, which is what everyone wants right now in the fucking desert heat with no air conditioning. We all want a nice hot cup of soup.
In these trying times.
Can I offer you some soup in these trying times? And then they keep talking about how the trucks are trying to tell them something. Ray thinks it's time to bail at this point. The redneck, I thought was a I didn't expect it from him to be, I like to play the game Salt Life or Barstool Bro.
Yeah.
When you're like at a bar, somebody walks in, you're like, okay, is this person like when we one time we were doing a little bit of people watching down on the North Shore when it was Cheney Kesney weekend. And when Cheney Kesney comes to town, baby, it's going to be, you're either going to be a Salt Life or a Barstool Bro. I did not picture the redneck being a Barstool Bro because when he finds kerosene, he goes, let's go, boys. And I just thought that's such a Barstool Bro thing to say.
It's a Barstool Bro thing to say, but you know what? That is also a real Trailer Park Boys thing to say. Because
that's
again, remember, this is filmed in Canada and he probably just couldn't, contain himself. And he's just like, let's go, boys.
Yeah, actually, kind of think of it, I could hear Ricky saying, let's go, boys, pretty quickly. But for some reason, I immediately thought of fucking Instagram barstool douches. But
Corey Trevor smokes.
yeah. He, I kind of, because it's set in the American Southwest, I oftentimes forgot how Canadian it was. But anyway, speaking of Canadian, we were talking about some of the, the one guy being in the Goosebumps episodes. That is the most painfully Canadian show I've ever seen in my life. If you go back and watch that, you're gonna love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he whips up some Molotov cocktails, and then the other redneck, just kind of gets all fired up and gets mad at him for throwing Molotov cocktails at his truck, even though it's sentient now, and is like, don't do that to my truck, and goes running out and gets in the truck and is, of course, immediately like, I can't drive this sentient truck.
Yeah. Hey, then, it's being disrespectful. It's not listening to me at all.
This truck, I trained you better than this truck. And then he runs at the other redneck who has thrown a Molotov cocktail at that truck. And then as soon as it rams into the building that he's in, this little shack, it bursts into a fireball.
Yeah.
Like it was full of flammable gas. And that's great. That's fine. But the funniest part is no one is that bummed.
No.
Like whenever Mrs. Yeager got solid snaked by the truck, they're like, oh my God. Everyone's like super distraught, like, or as distraught as they are in this movie. When the rednecks both got exploded, they were like, oh man. Like even Ray kind of almost smirked. Like
right.
He was like,
and
so
I mean,
weird.
Yeah, they've been rowdy, and they are basically pre-QAnon. Like if they were allowed to live longer, they would have gotten there.
For sure.
But yeah, everybody just kind of goes, oh well, that happened.
Yeah,
Shucks.
At least they don't have to get out of here.
Which also tells you there was nothing of value in that building either, because like nobody even reacts to that. They're just like, oh, I guess that building's gone too. Buy everything over there.
Yeah, there's a couple beers and a couple loaves of Wonder Bread over there, but I don't think they knew that. So this is like the time, winding down in the movie where they're just like, okay, we need to kill off some of these characters. Too many left. So people start dying fast. Those two, obviously the Jaegers have died. The truck has now taken out the generator, and they're just going for broke. They just start smashing all the buildings, which up to this point, they didn't really care. But they're like trying to talk to them, but they're trying to tell them something. They keep alluding to the fact they're trying to talk to Ray specifically. And they think they need to go pick up the phone. You talked about Abby runs out there. That's how Jack, the hippie guy, dies. He dies off camera. It's stupid. Nobody cares. They all pull up the building and just like lay on the horn. And then Ray realizes that he's the fuel guy. He runs the pumps at the gas station. So he thinks that he has determined that they want him to give them fuel. So he does. And he says, like, this is the opportunity for everyone to escape. So they go get the motorcycle that Logan had, fixed up. Abby and her dad jump on the motorcycle. They take off. Meanwhile, fills up the trucks or whatever, and that gives them enough time to escape. Basically, the cook just shoots a .22 pistol at the hood of a truck. Not really doing anything, but apparently because he hit the headlight again, if that's the eye of the truck, maybe it makes him crash, and then he gets mushed. And they're like, he saved our lives. I'm like, I don't think he did. I think he just like sacrificed himself in vain. Like it was dumb.
Well, it's like, I don't think he saved their lives, but on the other hand, he's an old man, so he would have just like weighed them down anyway.
Yeah,
so
they just needed him off the planet. Yeah. They're just like, all right, you go out there and on a fucking kamikaze mission. And then Ray blows up the King truck with one rifle shot. Just one well-placed rifle shot just makes it explode into a fireball. Classic, lazy, stupid thing to do. And Hope and Ray and Logan then just climb a small hill nearby, which apparently was there the whole time, which was very close. They could have made a run for hours and hours ago.
Yeah.
Because these are trucks. These are like semi trucks. They can't get up a dirt, hill, like a little hill without a road.
No. They're like the hill's going to collapse under their weight. Like it's a shitty gradient, and then you just go hide on the other side. That's it. You lay in the grass for a bit.
They're like, let's rest here and wait till morning. It's like, why didn't you guys do that so long ago when everyone was alive?
Yeah.
But then you cut to this electrical worker in a bucket truck, and he gets like shaken because the truck comes to life and shakes him until he gets like, he's like hanging on a safety strap, and then he just gets like fed into the electrical wires and gets electrocuted.
Now this dude killed himself.
It doesn't make any sense. That was on purpose.
Yeah, this dude killed himself. He just reached out and grabbed the transformer like an asshole.
But the whole time he's yelling like, I'm gonna kick your ass. Like, why was that scene here? Why was it there?
Because it didn't go anywhere else. Like, so again, back to Maximum Overdrive. That movie starts not with trucks. It starts with a whole bunch of shit. It starts with bridges and cars and
lawnmowers. Yeah.
We get a whole bunch of stuff before we get grounded into a truck stop.
Yeah.
They only recorded so many little vignettes, and they burned them all. But like they only had the clean suit killer. They had Tiny Tonka Terror. And now we have the cherry picker, and like the cherry picker was filmed at night, so the editor went, "Oh, I can't show anything that's out of sequence. Night hasn't fallen anywhere else, so I have to show night at night."
Yeah, I think you're right, because that was probably how the electricity was going to go out. Like, and then they were like, "No, it's all happening within one day, so let's make the army truck with the cloud crash into the transformer, and that's what's going to happen." But we still got this footage, and like, that was a pretty cool scene, so let's just throw it in there at the end and get to our however many minutes we got to get to fill up that block on TV.
Right.
Oh man, it just felt like a complete non sequitur. I was watching it, I'm going, there's 5 minutes left in this movie. What possibly could be happening?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I was like, why are you introducing a brand new character with 5 minutes to go? What the fuck is this?
I was so confused. But so morning comes, and then a helicopter arrives, and you're like, hey, we're saved. And they do this little dumb race which this was actually probably one of the better parts of the movie. The truck that Ray blew up with the single magic bullet has come back to life, resurrected itself from the dead. It's all burned out, and it's chasing them. They are running to the helicopter. They get to the helicopter just in time. There's like Ray's dangling. He finally gets into the helicopter. The truck, or it's like the skeleton of the truck. It's like the end of Gremlins, it's all the skin's like melted off it or something. It's like a skeleton of a truck. It gets launched into the lake. And they're like, yay, this is great. We did it.
It's not even a lake. It's not even a lake.
No.
This little chase is okay, but the way it ends is fucking terrible. It's a terrible little stunt jump into a puddle. And it's just like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, that doesn't defeat the truck. It doesn't go over a cliff. It's nothing cool. It just goes a bump, a dump, a splash. And
into like 18 inches of water. Yeah.
Like it probably drove out. You just don't see it happen because they're in the helicopter now.
Yeah, you're right. But then Abby is on the helicopter. Her dad's not there, but she's on there. And she's like kind of like mute now. I don't know. And they're super excited. We did it. We escaped. But then Ray looks up and no one's driving the helicopter. Dun, dun, dun. It's a fucking controlling itself. And then a voice comes across the radio, I guess, of the
Yeah.
helicopter, and goes, "Just hang on, folks. I repeat, just hang on," which is, of course, what the sheriff said on the station earlier. So what does that, I would like to hear, before I give my 2 cents, what does that mean to you? What does that last little thing at the end suggest to you?
So to me, it suggests that they didn't have any good ideas, but they somehow came up with the precursor to Bumblebee in the Transformer movies, where Bumblebee can only speak in radio frequencies. And so now the helicopter can speak in radio frequencies by picking up what the sheriff had said earlier. You mentioned how
okay.
like the sheriff delivered the line in a weird way, but I don't think it's because the sheriff was possessed or any dumb shit like that. I just think it's a bad actor, and then they only had bad actor take for later on.
Could be, yeah.
And it just really upsetted me that like they did that instead of having the helicopter do a complete U-E and just spin around and crash back into that truck. That's how that should have ended. That would have ruled.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Or the helicopter's got hazmat suits in it, inflates them, picks them all up and lifts them up into the blades and decapitates them.
Oh yeah.
That'd have been sick.
Oh,
but no.
Oh no, the helicopter lands. Oh shit. No, you have a helicopter, like it's an army helicopter. It lands, right?
Yeah.
And it lands to pick up everybody, and it's full of the hazmat suit people. And then they come running at them, and then like the hazmat suit people all draw weapons and then chase them back at the truck and kill them.
And then at the end, the helicopter and the truck jump up and high five.
And then you see in the window of the pilot seat, it's the tiny Tonka truck.
And it's like, did I do that?
Yeah.
Or something. And then it's over, and then credits roll. Oh man, it's so dumb. I kind of took it as like, which you might be right. I took it as, it was some sort of like government conspiracy, or the aliens were in, cahoots with the government or whatever. And I don't fucking know whatever. It doesn't matter. It sucks. It's a terrible movie. Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. It's just so vague. It doesn't really fucking matter what you come up with. Like you make your own out of it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. They were like if they were like talking, in the boardroom after the movie wrapped up, and they were like, hey, how did it end? They were like, hour 39. Like that was what they were more concerned with, like that, not actually what happened.
Good. How many commercial breaks did we get?
Yeah. So anyway, that's Trucks. You guys don't watch it.
Yeah.
If you want to get like, this is a movie you can just skim or watch like YouTube clips of.
Oh yeah, this is a good YouTube clip show.
Yeah, just watch the YouTube clips. Watch the trucks curb stomping the mailman. That's worth a watch. There's a couple of really stupid scenes that are worth a watch. Don't go watch the whole movie. It's fucking, guys, and I don't say this that often, this is horse trash. Don't go watch it. It is worthless. But there's a couple funny parts you can watch on YouTube. So
it's too long. It's too long to be worth it.
If it was an hour 20, all right, fine. Fine. I've sat through worse movies, but to be an hour and 40, that lasts like, this is what happens with movies this bad, which we've talked about this. I like bad movies, but when I watch bad movies, there comes a time where I'm like, shit, how much is left here? I'm tired, or I got shit to do or whatever. And I look at it and I go, there's only 20 minutes left. That's great. It's perfect. 20 minutes, wrap everything up. It'll be fun. This, I look at the clock and I go, fuck, this is really dragging. How much time's left? 40 minutes left? Jesus Christ. Like, I don't think I can do this. Like that last 20 minutes, it doesn't sound like that much, but that last 20 minutes is the difference between tolerable and intolerable.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure this movie is inside the black hole that's in Interstellar. That just is a complete time sink and warps everything around it.
Yeah, it felt like 3 fucking hours. I watched on Tubi too, so it had commercials. Oh God, took so long. Anyway, don't watch it. All
Nope.
right, guys. That is trucks. Don't forget, couple of things. Check out the social medias in the coming days here. You get to vote on what that September Showdown episode topic is going to be, which, to remind you, we've got 80s slasher one-hit wonders. We've got horror comedies, and then we've got horror noir. So that should be a fun episode for September. And we're coming up on the spooky season, guys. So, oh, and also, if you've been waiting on stickers from me, I sent out like a whole bunch of stickers yesterday. So they should be coming for you. You might already got them by the time you listen to this. And if you want some Halloween is Forever stickers, they're getting low. I'm going to have to order some more. But if you want some Halloween is Forever stickers, I also, for those of you who got some stickers here this week, I also put a couple little goodies in there, little dumb weird shit, little spooky ooky, some Halloween stuff, some temporary tattoos and dumb shit. You might even get a dang old atomic fireball or some dumb shit like that. But if you want a little care package with some stickies in it from the Halloween's Forever crew, go on the social media, or I'm sorry, not the social medias, but go on the Podcatcher apps and give us a 5-star review or however many the maximum number of stars is, and then review us, and then send us a little DM in Twitter or Instagram and say, hey, I reviewed you guys, and we'll say, cool, what's your address? I'll send you some stickies.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything else, Steve?
Let's see. Month of August, we've got a returning guest coming up. And if you have any suggestions for guests that you want to hear on Showdowns, or if you think you can win a championship from us, let us know. I think I have an idea for who we're going to have on for October, because that's going to be special month. But, September, November, December, if you think you want to take a challenge, you want to take a shot, you too can be like Anthony.
Take a shot at the champ.
Yeah. You too can be like Anthony and make us watch fucking something awful.
Yeah. I actually did have a couple people reach out about guesting here. So, that'll be fun. All right, boys and ghouls. For the Halloween is Forever crew, I'm Brian.
And I'm not driving trucks ever in my entire life.
Guys, avoid trucks. They're dangerous. Bye. See ya.